A day in history, the funeral about to begin for the Princess of Wales.
No one who knew Diana will ever forget her.
Extraordinary scenes as the royals join a nation in grief on the streets of London.
Thank you so much.
Good evening from outside Buckingham Palace. In all the days of London's long history, never has there been an event such as this. They say 6 million people will line the route of the funeral procession, with another 2 billion or more watching on television around the world. And as the final preparations were being made here, the world learned of another loss, the death of Mother Teresa, the little nun who gave her life to the poorest of the poor. A friend of the princess, we pay tribute to her shortly. Here in London, the people have given a tender reception to Diana's sons, William and Harry, coming to Kensington Palace to greet the crowds, while the Queen has acted on the public clamour to show she cares. Mark Burrows begins our coverage.
With a nation transfixed, the royal family began the day with a painful journey from their Scottish retreat of Balmoral.
Mark Burrows, National 9 News, London.
Many people have been waiting at the barricades for 2 days or more to view this funeral. It's a scene that really defies any easy description, public grieving on such an overwhelming scale. Perhaps we were given just a hint of how things would be very shortly from what we witnessed last night, the dramatic images of Diana's coffin being moved in readiness for the funeral procession.
For 5 days and nights she had rested in peaceful privacy. Now it was time for Diana's final journey to Kensington Palace, one last night at the place she called home. Daniel Blyde, National 9 News, London.
It appears that Diana is to break with tradition in death, much as she did in life. The original plan was to have her buried with more than 20 generations of Spencers at the family estate. Instead, Diana will have her own special place, on an island in the centre of an ornamental lake.
Diana grew up on this estate. It is here she will finally be laid to rest. Mark Ferguson, National 9 News.
While the world has paused to honour a princess, sadness too following the death of Mother Teresa. The 87-year-old nun, who died of a heart attack overnight, had devoted her life to helping the poorest of the poor.
Mother Teresa sought out those places where despair and poverty were common. Robert Penfold, National 9 News.
With a massive crowd now lining the route of the funeral, we'll have more from London after the break. Welcome back to London. From Kensington Palace to the Abbey and here at Buckingham Palace, the streets are now jammed with mourners. The procession of Diana's coffin to begin soon. Ray Martin will continue our coverage shortly, but first Mike London is back in Brisbane with the rest of the day's news. Mike?
An extraordinary day. Thanks, Heather. Now to something on an upbeat note. There have been wild celebrations in Greece after the announcement that Athens will host the 2004 Games. It was a tight decision, Athens stealing the show from favourite Rome.
After so many years of planning, anxiety and lobbying, victory came in barely a second, just a few short words. In Lausanne, Switzerland, Michael Usher, National 9 News.
A young Ferrari owner had the most expensive driving lesson of his life today. It cost him just over $300,000, the price of his new 355 GTS. An unsuccessful end to the 26-year-old's Ferrari education program at Lakeside. Witnesses say the driver, who sustained a minor neck injury, owes his life to the car's tough construction. Sport now with Steve Haddan. And Steve, the Chargers continue to defy the critics.
Yes, Mike, the Chargers are alive and well into the final series after a remarkable turnaround last night and some bash and barge in the women's semis at Flushing Meadows.
They're looking right at one another, weren't they?
Good evening. Andrew Eddingshausen has been ruled out of the Broncos Cronulla Super League semi-final about to start in Townsville. Kevin Walters has recovered from a virus and will play. In the ARL last night, the Gold Coast Chargers down to Illawarra in the elimination final. They'll meet Sydney City on Friday night after the Roosters beat Norths in extra time today.
It was B-Day for the Roosters as the Bears set about avenging last Sunday's whacking by Sydney City.
Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
She's got a pretty strong shoulder there,
Grumpy
Mike.
there,
I wonder
yeah.
she didn't go to ground.
Thanks, Steve. Father's Day weather's next, and Pipsy checks the beach and the bay. Fine and sunny around the southeast, with the southwesterlies getting the day off to a cool start. It got down to 7 degrees in Brisbane overnight before climbing to 25. Temperatures were similar elsewhere. Barometer now 1,009 and rising, humidity 20%. Currently the temperature is 23 degrees. And no cloud of any consequence around the state today. While the fine weather continues over the weekend, there's a deep low in the Tasman. That'll bring showers down south tomorrow, remaining fine up here with the fire danger high to very high. Apart from Brisbane and Sydney, unsettled weather for the remaining capitals and hazy up in Darwin. 36 at Mount Isa tomorrow, fine and dry for northern centres. Fine also for Rocky down to Maryborough. And fine and dry in the southeast of the state. Ipswich coolest tonight down to 5 degrees. Brisbane fine with the southeasterlies easing overnight. Temperatures 7 to 27 degrees. And the outlook fine through to Wednesday. And now with the latest from the beach and the bay, here's Fipsy.
Thanks, Mike. Gusty offshore winds on the beach here at Coolum today. They should ease tomorrow for a great Father's Day. On the Gold Coast, Southport and Arraneck had a few waves this morning. Tomorrow, I would head for Durambar, Currumbin and Burleigh for an early surf. It should be okay for offshore fishing on Sunday, and these XOS cobia were caught by gone fishing charters earlier this week. On the Sunshine Coast, the surf was small but very clean today. Kawana, Peregian and Sunrise should provide a good opportunity for board riding tomorrow. The snapper have been on the chew-off noosa, and tomorrow should see a few more of these tasty fish caught. The coastal waters forecast is northwest to northeast winds at 10 to 15 knots, with a 15 to 20 knot northeast sea breeze in the afternoon with seas to 1.2 metres, and for Moreton Bay much the same with seas to about 1 metre. Everyone, have a great Sunday.
Thanks, Fipsy. That's the news this Saturday night. Stay with us now as we return you to London for commercial-free coverage of Princess Diana's funeral.